Legal mass reproduction of music and movies is a serious problem in California. Last year alone, the year 2010, there were more than 820,000 illegal discs that were seized by law enforcement authorities in this state. 820,000 in this state alone. And the cost of piracy is enormous. In a 2007 report by the LA Economic Development Corporation, estimated losses in Los Angeles County alone due to these counterfeit products cost state and local government revenues to the tune of $500 million. $500 million for one county. That was in 2005. Imagine what that extrapolates to year after year after year on a statewide, if not a national basis. It's also impacting the state in our economic recovery in terms of jobs. Legitimate retailers are having to compete with those who are not playing by the rules. Specifically, this bill would allow law enforcement authorities to inspect commercial manufacturing facilities to verify compliance with existing law. The bill would limit their inspections to regular business hours at locations where optical discs and production parts are manufactured and stored. The bill would allow law enforcement to obtain and remove small samples of optical discs molded by each replicator, and it would authorize the seizure of optical discs or production parts that are in violation of state law. With me in support of the bill is Joel Flatow from the Recording Industry Association of America, as well as Marcus Cohen, Director of Investigations for RIAA.
We have two witnesses, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for this focus on this issue today, SB 550. We greatly appreciate Senator Padilla's leadership. I'm Joel Flatow, General Manager of West Coast Operations for the Recording Industry Association of America. We're based in Burbank, California, while we're headquartered in D.C. This is a critical state for us as a recording industry, and I'm joined by my colleague Marcus Cohen. While there's often a great deal of attention paid to internet piracy and internet sales, in fact, we've had tremendous strides on the digital sales side, where in 5 years it's gone from roughly 8% of our industry to 47%. That still means that a majority portion of sales is CDs. We want to ensure through this bill that the state remains a center through its storied past as a leader in music globally, and not become a center of this type of illegal CD replicating. As Senator Padilla says, it costs jobs and revenues to the state. While I'm here representing the major record companies and some indies, you'll also see in the support that this affects the entire network of music making and music producing, from the engineers, musicians, producers of the Recording Academy that's based in California, and there are 20,000 members, to the American Association of Independent Music and their indie labels, which are located in every part of the state, to the National Music Publishers Association that represents small songwriters and publishers among some of the largest members. So we appreciate the committee's attention to this issue today, and with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Marcus Cohen.
Thank you. My name is Marcus Cohen. I'm Director of Investigations for the RIAA, based out of Los Angeles, California. I'd like to first off thank the committee for the opportunity to speak before you about this very important legislation. As part of my job responsibilities, I am engaged in investigating all acts of physical anti-piracy occurring in the western United States. Hard disk or pressed CD replication has become an epidemic. California is the leader in the optical disc replication facilities. There are more replication facilities here based in California than anywhere else in the country. Based on our investigations, we are finding that the majority of pirate product of the pressed nature is coming out of California. The difficulty that we face in working on these cases and supporting law enforcement's efforts to take on these crimes are the fact that the discs that are currently coming out are not labeled in any way, shape, or form with any of the required identifying marks as required by the statute. We think that the distribution of this is facilitated by the fact that there are no markings that obviously label what replication plant is producing this product. We are finding these discs as far away as New York, Florida, Virginia, as well as a saturation on the West Coast, all throughout the state of California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Oregon, and all the way up into Seattle. It is our hope through this legislation that we will further empower law enforcement to address these crimes and do whatever we can to stop the bleeding that is occurring right now based on these replication facilities.
Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in support? Name and affiliation, please.
Sandra Lujan Strizak with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office in strong support of the bill. Thank you.
Any other witnesses in support? All right, seeing any witnesses in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, members, Francisco Labac on behalf of the American Civil Liberties Union. We are, with all due respect and continued opposition to the legislation, we do think this bill, as it comes to the committee, I noticed some amendments, but I don't think it changed the substance of it, raises significant Fourth Amendment questions, concerns. We don't believe it meets the standard as a closely regulated business sufficient to justify a warrantless search of these businesses. When you layer that on top of the fact that the information that's being sought is protected by the First Amendment.
I'm sorry. Does anybody have their cell phone by the mic? All right, thanks. Sorry, Mr. Castillo.
When the information being sought is information protected by the First Amendment, makes it even more likely to be subject to judicial scrutiny. I don't think it's my cell phone. For all those reasons, we think if this bill becomes law, very likelihood will not withstand judicial oversight. So we are opposed to the bill.
Thank you, sir, very much. All right, any other witness in opposition? All right, seeing none, any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, Senator Padilla, would you like to close, please?
Sure. Before respectfully asking for your aye vote, let me just address some of the questions or concerns that came up relative to the Fourth Amendment. Yes, the Fourth Amendment's in place, and we all respect it. But there is not just legislation, but several items of case law that are provided for warrantless searches with a couple of sort of thresholds or tests along the way. One, for industries that are highly regulated. We already have warrantless searches allowed in things like auto dismantling yards, pawn shops, etc. When it's a closely regulated industry, and I'd argue that the duplication or the replication within the music and video industry is highly regulated, especially given current state laws authored by Kevin Murray. Second, it must be narrowly tailored, and I think we've achieved that with the bill that's before you, not only with an eye towards minimal impact to business, with provisions that these searches can only take place during business hours, for example, but also the amendment that was taken while this bill was still in the Senate, where it's not just a blanket authority to all of law enforcement, but only law enforcement officials whose primary function is to crack down on piracy. And third, the argument for substantial state interest. I mentioned the loss of revenue to both state and local coffers, but as the supporters here testified, California is unique in terms of the density of the replicator business. It is really concentrated here in the state and in Southern California more specifically, so it puts California in a unique position to not only benefit from a successful and thriving industry, but crack down on piracy. Thank you.
I'm assuming you're asking for an aye vote.
I ask your aye vote.
All right, we need a motion. And a second? All right, motion, second. Roll call, please.
Amiano?
Aye.
Amiano, aye. Knight? Aye. Knight, aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cedillo, aye. Hagman? Hill? Aye. Hill, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Skinner? Bill's out.
The bill is out. Congratulations, Senator. Senator De Leon? He was here a minute ago. Senator Hancock.
He was very kind.
Thank you. We have two bills left after this, three, and we are in session starting at noon, so brevity would be much appreciated. Senator Hancock.
Suggestion, hopefully concurred.
Item 13.
Members, the use of data to manage an organization has become recognized as essential to successful outcomes. It's essential for correcting problems and really sometimes fully understanding what the problems and bottlenecks are that we face. Many states are using data to manage their correctional institutions and having excellent outcomes in terms of drops in crime rate and reduced recidivism. SB 601 will lay a framework for providing better public access to key information about the performance of California's prison system by having the CDCR develop corrections accountability reports like the school reports that the legislature requires of every school in the state, and post them on its website for easy, straightforward public access. This is all information that CDCR collects now in a system called ComStat. It's currently displayed on something called the Government Accountability website, where it gets lost and is not displayed in a way that's very useful. A printout would be 60 pages a month, and really we want to limit this to a few key indicators of success of the system, both for legislative and internal use and for use of the public. Both the independent review panel chaired by former Governor Deukmejian and the Little Hoover Commission have called for increasing transparency, accountability in our correction system, since it is 10% of our state budget and takes up so much of our resources. I would ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator.
With me, Mark Gladstone from the Senate Office of Research, who helped put the bill together, is here for any technical.
The bill has an aye recommendation, so we usually have two witnesses, 2 minutes, if you need that much time. Bill's been moved. We need to second it and seconded. Any questions for the panel? Any statements you'd like to make?
Jim Lindberg on behalf of the Friends Committee on Legislation of California. Quakers invented the modern penitentiary, and for many years have been vested in their success and have only grudgingly come to realize that there are serious problems within our penal system. We think that prisons generally operate under the radar. Only if something very egregious happens that the media cannot ignore do they get coverage and enter into the consciousness of the voters. We think that voters deserve to be apprised of the outcomes. People want prisons to correct and to rehabilitate, and especially given the huge sums of the budget that corrections now accounts for, we need more accountability and oversight. We think this bill will lead us in that direction. We're in support.
Thank you.
I'm John Kern from SEIU 1000. I help represent the teachers and non-custody staff in the very large corrections system, and we're highly interested in seeing our system shrink, and we all know that it needs to. Lack of statistics were not the cause of the tremendously high recidivism rate that the state has. However, statistics will help solve that problem. I'm looking forward to the day when it won't be hard to see that the average prison in the state has maybe 4,000 prisoners, maybe about 1,000 correctional officers, and only about 10 academic classroom teachers and 5 vocational instructors still hanging in there trying to do what little bit of remnant of rehabilitation that is still going on in the failed system. Every system is perfectly designed to achieve the results that it gets. And I think there's one thing everyone in this city can agree on: the results in the Corrections Department are not what we need in the years going forward. So we've been happy to work with the author on this bill and strongly support
All right,
it.
thank you very much. Any questions or? No? Okay, Senator Hancock, would you like to close?
I would ask for your aye vote.
Is there any opposition? No. Great. All right, we'll have a roll call, please. The bill's been moved and seconded.
Amiano?
Aye.
Amiano, aye. Knight? Knight, aye. Cedillo? Cedillo, aye. Hagman? Hill? Hill, aye. Mitchell? Mitchell, aye. Skinner? Bill's out.
The bill is out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're waiting for Senator. Oh, okay. Mr. Cedillo. And then we have some cleanup that we have to do. Finish up some votes.
He's got item 5. He's here.
Okay.
Item
Senator?
number
Item 5.
Mr. Chair.
All right, Senator, this is SB 124.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, as well as members, and thank you for the opportunity to present SB 124. SB 124 is the Cop Killer Ban Protection Act, which I introduced in response to a recent court ruling that called into question the definition of handgun ammunition and, by extension, cop killer bullets. SB 124 simply clarifies the definition of cop killer bullets to include bullets that are designed to penetrate body armor when fired from a handgun. This clarification is designed to preempt future litigation on this matter and keep cop killer bullets illegal in the state of California. This bill also clarifies the definition of handgun ammunition by eliminating the word principally, which a Superior Court judge ruled was unconstitutionally vague. This minor change to this 30-year-old statute is necessary to uphold our laws that govern sales and distribution of ammunition in California. This measure is strongly supported by law enforcement agencies throughout the state of California. Mr. Chair, as well, Mr. Vice Chair, as well as members, I respectfully ask for an aye vote on this very important measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Tim Yarian representing the Association for Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs, the Los Angeles Police Protective League, the Riverside Sheriffs Association, the Los Angeles Probation Officers, AFSCME Local 685. I'll be very brief. This bill merely restates existing law. It outlaws cop killer bullets, Teflon-coated bullets. There is no purpose other than to penetrate body armor for these bullets. We ask for an aye vote. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Ben Van Houten on behalf of Legal Community Against Violence in support of the bill, also expressing the support of the California chapters of the Brady campaign. We disagree with the Fresno court ruling, but I think that this is a very sensible fix.
Mr. Chairman, members, Jim Votes on behalf of the Long Beach Police Officers Association, Santa Ana Police Officers, Deputy Sheriff Associations from both Orange and Sacramento County, the LA County Professional Peace Officers Association, and the California Fraternal Order of Police in support.
Mr. Chairman, Lieutenant Wayne Billowood on behalf of Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in support. Thank you.
Sandra Struzak with the LA City Attorney's Office in strong support. Thank you.
Tressa Wallace on behalf of the City of Beverly Hills in support.
Support. Seeing none, any witnesses in opposition? All right, please have a seat. Okay, we'll follow our usual practice, 2 minutes, 2 witnesses.
Yes,
So, like to begin? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ed Worley with the National Rifle Association. Those of us who were there in Fresno when the lawsuit was heard, one of the questions that came up to the judge and to the court was, would the finding in the Parker case have any problems at all with so-called armor-piercing ammunition? That question was asked by the attorneys from the Department of Justice, and it was asked to the judge. When the judge made his ruling, he talked to the attorneys about the case and said his ruling in Parker would have no effect whatsoever on the definition of so-called cop killer bullets or armor-piercing ammunition. This bill is not about armor-piercing ammunition. This bill is a smokescreen for the senator, respectfully, to try to fix AB 962 under the guise of saying he's here to defend armor-piercing ammunition. The problem with the way his bill is structured now is that it actually makes the definition of armor-piercing ammunition even more problematic, because currently you already have case law which talks about armor-piercing ammunition. This bill, in essence, could ban rifle ammunition, because there are some rifle ammunition cartridges that will penetrate body armor vests because they're rifle cartridges. They can be fired out of some handguns, some esoteric handguns that are used for hunting and different things. So the problem you have with this bill is twofold. Number one is you're messing up the current statute and the current case law with armor-piercing ammunition. Number two, this is throwing a wider net than AB 962 ever comprehended. As you remember, AB 962 talked about the registration of handgun ammunition. with the new definition the senator has done, is now going to require the registration of rifle ammunition also. That's one of the reasons why we oppose. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, the issues are short, so I'll try to be concise. Ms. Worley is right relative to rifle ammunition, and in fact, the bill would affect all rifle ammunition because of the fact that your single-shot hunting and competition pistol manufacturers and the aftermarket barrel manufacturers for these firearms have, in effect, covered the entire field of rifle ammunition. So all rifle ammunition is capable of being fired in a handgun. Therefore, this bill would include all rifle ammunition. With respect to the armor-piercing aspect, the bill says manufactured or designed. All rifle ammunition except .22 rimfire is designed with an aerodynamic shape and a cross-sectional density that facilitates penetration through the atmosphere for long distances and penetration into the target, usually a big game animal, with sufficient force to kill the animal. Now then, since all rifle ammunition is designed in that manner, all rifle ammunition would be able to penetrate a Kevlar vest. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. So here again, this bill would define all rifle ammunition to be armor-piercing ammunition. The definition that is used in this bill is still not sufficiently clear, will still be subject to the court challenges, and I believe will still be tossed out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very much. All right, any other witnesses in opposition?
Mr. Chairman and members, Sam Paredes representing Gun Owners of California. There's absolutely no mention that armor-piercing handgun ammunition is already banned under federal law.
All right.
So that's the law of the land.
Thank you, sir. All right, other witnesses in opposition, name and affiliation, please.
Mr. Chairman, Kathy Lynch representing the National Shooting Sports Foundation in strong opposition, as well as sportsmen's groups, since this is expansive, California Sportsmen's Lobby, Safari Club International, and Outdoor Sportsmen's Coalition of California.
Thank you very much. Further opposition, name and affiliation. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Alenia Hellman-Toller, Responsible Citizens of California. My letter of opposition went in, but it's not listed as opposition anymore. It was dropped from it. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members, Tom Pedersen representing California Rifle and Pistol Association. We're opposed to this bill. Thank you.
Sir?
Mr. Chairman and members, Jim Ricketts, co-founder of Tea Party United, representing Tea Party groups in Citrus Heights, Carmichael, Fair Oaks, Lincoln, and Sacramento. We are in strong opposition to this bill, and we strongly resent the mischaracterization of this bill by Senator DeLeon.
All right, sir, thank you. Just name and affiliation, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Catania. I'm also co-founder of Tea Party United. I'd like to say one short thing.
I'm sorry, sir.
Excuse me, sir, please.
No, I'm
I
sorry,
came down
sir,
here.
you're out of order.
Just let me say this one thing.
No, it's
In
not about
1970, I spent an Dachau prison camp, and I came from there after talking to the inmates, and the one thing that they told me is when gun control went through, they felt the boot on their throat. Please don't let that happen in this country.
All right. Anybody else? I won't allow you to speak, only because we want to be fair to the other side. Right. They didn't get to make statements like that, so it's not personal. Please, all right, sir.
Yeah. Ed Jones, NorCal Tea Party, and we're definitely against it.
I'm Cindy Jones. I'm with the Tea Party Patriots, and I oppose. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mary Lou Buchanan. I'm from the Tea Party of Placer County. I'm opposed.
Thank you, ma'am.
Pat Higgins from the Tea Party, and just as a citizen, I oppose.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Any other witnesses in opposition? All right. Seeing none, any questions or comments from committee members? All right. Mr. Knight, and then Senator De Leon, if you'd like to close.
Senator, I have just a quick question about this. I'm trying to get the definition here, and I guess it says primarily used in going through some sort of a bulletproof vest or something like that. Am I getting close here on the definition? Would a rifle round, if a rifle round could be used in a handgun, and a rifle round, if used in a rifle, is going to go through a bulletproof vest, correct? Are we trying to put restrictions on the velocity of a round.
Let me try to answer your question as best as possible through my perspective. This bill is a very simple, a straightforward bill. It is black and white. And let me put this in context. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. If you have ammunition that is known as a cop killer bullet, and that ammunition, that ammo can easily fit into a cartridge or revolver of a handgun, it is a cop killer bullet. And that's why we have the vast majority of public safety officers in the state of California who are strongly in support of this measure. Let me put this in context with regards to what was mentioned earlier with regards to AB 962, which is now SB 427, which is a technical cleanup of AB 962, which is under litigation. The Attorney General, Kamala Harris, right now is appealing that case. This measure, 124, has nothing to do with that measure, AB 962, then AB 962. This specifically deals with the whole issue of the two words, primarily and principally, which has been argued by the Chief Counsel at the National Rifle Association, Mr. Chuck Mitchell from Long Beach, California, that they are synonymous. We want to take the words out, principally as well as primarily, and be very clear so it's not subjective on a test 1 or test 2 that we use specifically designed to pierce armor. And that's a cop killer bullet, and that's why, Mr. Knight, as a former LAPD officer in the Newton Division, you would understand this very well. That's why we have the vast majority of law enforcement agents. After the decision was made, there was much consultation with primarily the big city police chiefs of what this legal decision was about and what were the unintended consequences of that decision. What I want to do with this measure, SB 124, is make sure we have an ironclad, this is not up for litigation in the future by anyone who wants to open this up. If the theory stands with regards to the first ruling that is, quote unquote, unconstitutionally vague, and the two words, primarily and principally, are synonymous with each other according to the National Rifle Association. Therefore, I want to make sure, and that's why with the police chiefs as well as rank and file members who are on the beat each day, make sure it is not up for any type of lawsuit in the future and it's not overturned, and that's why we have the word specifically designed. Now, this 30-year statute, I didn't write it. None of us on this committee wrote it. It's been in law for 30 years, and it's been designed to define what handgun ammunition is all about, and it's since been thrown out of court.
And I get that, and I think this term gets thrown around, this cop killer term gets thrown around. I think we've all seen New Jack City or whatever Hollywood movie brought that term out.
That's an old movie.
That's an old movie. But many rounds will go through bulletproof vests like knife through butter just by the sheer velocity of the round, not by what they're made out of, not by what penetrates the vest, but by the sheer velocity of the round. So that's where I'm trying to get, is if this definition is trying to put some sort of change in how we make rounds for the future. Many rounds are made at a high velocity for a certain reason. Many hunting rounds, many rounds that do get placed in a handgun that can be used in a rifle. I have a rifle at home that I can shoot a handgun ammunition with, or I can put it in my rifle and shoot a 45 round through. It's going to be a much, much higher velocity round. So that's where I'm trying to get to, is the definition of this. Just by what the round is made out of doesn't particularly make it go through the vest. Some rounds will go through the vest just by the velocity of the round. We saw that in the North Hollywood shooting. We've seen that for many hunting rounds that are used for a specific reason. And hunting rounds that can go, certain high velocity rounds, are made for that. They're made for these hunting positions. Sometimes you don't get to get that close to the game, and so the high velocity round helps, and it takes down the animal. So that's just not so much a question, just so much a dialogue about where we're going with this definition, because I believe it's making it very broad about what we're talking about here.
All right. Senator, would you like to close?
Mr. Chair, as well as members, I thank you for your indulgence. Again, this is about public safety. It's about protecting the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to protect us.
Okay.
And I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator, very much. We need a motion and a second. All right. And a roll call, please.
Amiano?
Aye.
Amiano, aye. Knight? Knight, no. Cedillo? Cedillo, aye. Hagman? Hagman, no. Hill? Mitchell? Mitchell, aye. Skinner? Skinner, aye. The bill's out.
All right. Thank you.
We have his vote on.
And Senator, we have a vote only, but I have had a question about what the amendment is.
Sure.
And if you could just address that briefly, and then we will have a roll call vote.
Okay. Thank you again, Mr. Chair. The amendment is very simple. What it does is it deletes the state preemption. So what this will do is allow the city of Los Angeles to make and write and draft their own rules as they see on a case-by-case basis. Those municipalities in the state of California who would like to do so may do so. Those who do not may choose not to do so.
Okay. And if they face a preemption, that's up to them how they deal with it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, thank you for your indulgence again, and members, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
All right. Thank you. Sure, briefly.
Very brief, and just on the state preemption, we've got 58 counties and over 450 cities that could change the way that this moves from city to city, from county to county.
Hey, yeah.
And I understand where this is going. I think
You should have voted for it the first time. Yeah.
Extremely broad to say that somebody now could go through 10 different jurisdictions, be out of compliance in 8 of them, be in compliance in 2 of them. It makes it very, very difficult, makes it overly burdened. I think that this amendment has changed the bill in such a way that, with all due respect to the author, has made a bill that I've already voted on no worse.
Okay, let's, yeah, come on. You know, this is just to present, so please be brief.
Mr. Chair, I mean, to keep it fair, you have, it's not a minor technical amendment. This is a pretty good amendment.
I know what it is, Mr. Hagman. Ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. I just had a question. Does this now include paintball guns? Now, I understand it does.
It's technically, legally speaking, it does. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
I need a motion.
Mr. Cedillo has a comment.
No, what?
No.
He asked a question. You said paintballs.
It's included in this bill. I mean, with the amendments now.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a fundamental change from the previous bill with respect to this industry?
With a small change, but we're going to have to revisit that issue nonetheless still. We're still trying to draft the legal aspects of that right now as we speak. But because of the time frame with regards to the hearing between now and I think next week, this is the only public safety hearing, my understanding.
Okay.
No. Let me be a little more exact. Were the provisions or the amendments you took to give an exemption to that industry, are those removed or?
Let me see. Do we have the language, folks? Yeah. Yeah. It does allow local governments to regulate
Okay.
that portion of the industry.
All right. Any motion on this vote only? Okay. Second?
I'll.
Okay.
Amiano?
Aye.
Amiano, aye. Knight? No. Knight, no. Cedillo?
Cedillo, aye, but I'm going to condition that on the review of the amendments and make no commitment to the floor.
Cedillo, aye. Hagman? No. Hagman, no. Hill? Hill, aye. Mitchell? Mitchell, aye. Skinner? Skinner, aye. The bill's out.
All right, the bill is out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This
Thank
one
you,
specific
Senator.
bill has some mojo. in it, yeah.
Let's go
Committee
to
members, I apologize. We have a few things to catch up with, and then we can go.
Let's go to the other vote only. Item 18.
Item 18.
Start.
Vote only. It's.
I have a motion by Mr. Knight. I need a second.
There's a motion from Mr. Knight. There is no second. This is Ms. Corbett's bill. Second by Mr. Hagman. And
Call the roll.
call the roll, please.
Amiano?
No.
Amiano, no. Knight? Knight, aye. Cedillo. Cedillo not voting. Hagman. Hagman, aye. Hill. Hill, aye. Mitchell. Mitchell not voting. Skinner. Skinner not voting. Cedillo not voting. Bill fails. 3-1.
All right, the bill.
Wait a minute. Oh, passes.
Okay, and what's the total?
4-1.
The total is 4-1. The bill is out.
Okay, let's go to the other one that needs a motion, and then we'll backtrack.
All right, we need a Ms. Runder's bill. Senator Runder's bill did not receive a second. Mr. Hagman, Mr. Hagman seconds, and the chair's recommendation is no. And if we could call the roll, please.
Amiano?
No.
Amiano, no. Knight? Knight, aye. Cedillo? Cedillo, aye. Hagman? Hagman, aye. Hill? Hill, aye. Mitchell? Mitchell not voting. Skinner? Skinner not voting. That bill's out.
All right, that bill is out. Further housekeeping.
Okay, anything in blue that hasn't been crossed out, here you go.
Okay, these are on call for item number 1, SB 9E, sentencing.
Call the absentees.
Call the absentees.
Cedillo? Cedillo, aye. Hill? Hill, aye. Skinner? Skinner, aye. That bill is out.
That bill is out. All right, item number 4, we did that, okay. Item number 7, SB 296, right, criminal street gangs. Call the absentees.
Cedillo? Cedillo not voting. Hagman? Cedillo, aye. Hagman? Cedillo, aye. Hagman, no. Hill? Hill, aye. That bill's out.
That bill is out. SB 514, Semidian,
Item
number 9.
Call the absentees.
Call the absentees.
Cedillo? Cedillo, aye. Hagman? Hagman, aye. Hill? Hill, aye. That bill's out.
That bill is out. And then finally, not finally, but almost, number 12, SB 586, banks and credit unions.
Call the absentees.
Call the absentees.
Cedillo? Cedillo not voting. Hagman? Hagman, no. Hill? Hill, aye. Cedillo, aye. That bill's out.
All right, that bill is out. I think that finishes.
Yes.
You want to add on to consent? Do we have all that taken care of?
Mr. Hill? Okay, we can add them.